Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And the boys roll along here with best bets in this video for the, what is it today? Wednesday slate here in the NBA. We have 10 games to choose from as we roll along. As always, we have our player props up as well in another video. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along each and every weekday of this NBA season with us. Also head to thelines.com. Use that odds finder tool that we have up there to make sure you're getting the best juice available to you from all these books giving us bets this season. Hey, let's go ahead and run right into your first best bet on this pretty fun slate after just a little 4-gamer on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, the Rockets at home against the Hawks. You got to trust the Rockets at home right now. You have to trust that the Hawks are worth fading. With no Jalen Johnson, Bogdanovich questionable, Capella playing through a knee injury. I mean, Atlanta has just been the most disappointing team, according to the market, in the NBA. 6-20 against the spread is the worst record. They're 5-16 in non-division games, 4-17 on a normal one-day rest here. In their last 18, they've covered 3 times, as I detailed, one against Detroit, Washington, and then they got the back-to-back situation against Toronto and got that inconsistent team. But they've lost 6 of their last 8 on the road with a 125 defensive rating, not getting to the free throw line. And that is probably the most key stat here. I mean, they are staying in these games or competing by hitting threes. But the Houston Rockets, among the many things they do very well on defense, are the number 1 3-point defense in the league, also limit fast break points, and give up the fewest paint points at home. Their one weakness is the free throws they allow. But that is lesser at home, where they've won 11 straight, and they're now 10-1-1 against the spread since dropping their home opener to the Warriors, 4-0-1 as home favorites. It's a small spread of just -3 right now. Not seeing too much movement, which is great. I don't know what reason we really have to buy into Atlanta in this spot. I mean, if without Bogdanovich, I think they're really in trouble. He was basically the reason they pulled out of that nosedive and beat Toronto. I mean, they're playing good team ball, but to get that third scorer out there was huge. And without him in their last game, we saw Wes and Garrison Matthews combine for 34 minutes, which is not a good recipe here for a Houston Rockets team that has a lot of size and explosiveness on the wing. I mean, Tari Eason, didn't see any props up for him yet, but I would probably take him to continue putting up numbers in this matchup. And I mean, if it comes down to the clutch here, Houston, very good clutch numbers at home. Atlanta 28th in offensive rating, 25th in net and rebounding rate in the clutch on the road. Houston coming off consecutive road losses to Milwaukee and Cleveland. No tough spots, but expected to bounce back here. -3. And speaking of bounce back, I mean, the Indiana Pacers, if you want a moneyline parlay partner here, they're -10 at home against Charlotte. Lost 4 straight since the in-season tournament here, but Indy's going to get right against Charlotte, a Charlotte team without LaMelo Ball. I don't really have much suspense about that being a win for the Pacers after they got drubbed by the Clippers. So that gets you even money, and I would honestly go 1.5 units between just the Rockets on this small spread and a nice moneyline parlay.
Oh yeah, I agree with all of it. I honestly look. I left the Hawks for you. It sounds like a cop out, but I literally was looking at the slate last night and I go, oh, the Rockets at home under 5 points. I know my boy at this point. I know he's going to want this spread, and I fully agreed with it. I guess I could have done a little work to help you out with some stats. My apologies. But you did it. You got there. You did great. And I agree with the Pacers. I can't wait for that conversation that's going to be just flooding your NBA podcasts of, is the in-season tournament bad for teams after they play in it? Yeah, they end up losing a bit because they just played this really hyped tournament, and then they come down on a little bit of a come down, right? Like the high is coming down. It's really the end of the night. It's not fun anymore. They're coming back now. It's their next day. They drank water. They're hydrated. So I agree with the Pacers pick as well. Let me go ahead and take an over that might feel scary because I'm talking about 2 teams in the Southeast Conference. Down there, Southeast. Yeah, it's the division. But anyway, the Heat are at Orlando. The total is 218.5. It's up to 220.5 now. Is the best that you can find. It definitely CLV there for those of you who took it last night. But more importantly, it's Orlando at home, and like I said, this is, I think, just low because of the public perception that the books are aware of, that your two teams that have historically in the last, let's say, 3-4 years been, well, for the Magic since they started being good 3 or 4 years ago, at least on defense. And the Heat are always going to heat on defense, but the Magic they're up to 120 points per game at home. This is the situation that you take them in. I tried to get cute and take them on the road as well. It's just not where they're as scoring as many points. So the 120 they're scoring at home versus the 106 on the road, pretty stark. They are crashing the boards a ton. There's going to be no Evan Mobley in there for the Cavs when one of he or Jared Allen is missing. Their rebound percentage drops pretty clearly. And the 35% offensive rebound percentage plus 60 points in the paint that the Magic are scoring at home, both number one in the league. I would expect that to be able to continue, to be honest with you. Bam's back in there, and that's always going to be helpful. But they are giving up points in the paint more than they normally do, the Heat. They're also giving up points in the fast break, and the Magic are transitioning a bit more at home than they do on the road, although they're still playing at like a 97.5 pace. They do seem to just have a little bit of more of a fluid offense. Like I said, the Heat giving up the eighth most points in the paint this season. The matchup overall, like you can get some you can't really get second chance points against the Heat, but you have been able to get free throws against them as of late as well. So attacking the rim should mean clock stoppage, more easy free points while the clock is stopped, things of that nature. And then with Fultz out, it's Cole Anthony. So that means a lot less defense for the Magic and a lot more offense for the Magic. I don't think there's really Jalen Suggs is going to be out there, and he is going to be taking on Tyler Hero predominantly, but that is going to leave some other guys open where they're most vulnerable, the Magic, on the wing and really up top, coming from the point guard position, because Jalen Suggs has really been a one-man defensive stopper sort of on the wing, with Markelle Fultz not playing very much as he's been wont to do. So they score 115 points per game without Fultz versus 8 with him. This is 14 games versus 10 games, so pretty much the same sample size of with or without him. They allow 111 with him, so these games averaging 226 when Fultz is not in versus averaging about 213 when he is in. That's a very big difference, 13 points a game. The pace goes up a bit as well because, as I said, you've got Cole Anthony in there who equals space, pace, and not very much defense with a small guard who can still get into the lane and gets his free throws as well, which is very a good reason that you might consider some Cole Anthony props in this one when they come out.
Yeah, I mean, this line is fair. I would have to say. I mean, Bam coming back in there makes me a little more reluctant to take a Heat over, just because he'll help the defense so much. Because we have seen Orlando really spike between these massive outputs from Paolo and Franz, and then just like under 100 when they face a good defense. And Miami is a good defense with Bam. A much more reliable regular season player than Jimmy being out here tonight. But I mean, you're going to look at some player props here with Jimmy out, people to fill the void offensively, and that's probably the angle I would go with here. More minutes for Jaquez, our boy, and Kyle Lowry and Caleb Martin and the likes. Kind of interested in Miami to just win the game. Big brother, this team. But I'm not taking a winner here in this Knicks-Nets game. I'm just going to take Jalen Brunson to keep doing what he's doing, being unstoppable. 25 plus points, 5 plus assists is even money or slightly plus money right now, as both these teams return home from a West Coast road trip to face each other in the sleepy Barclays Center. Not really a home court advantage for anyone. Brunson has just absolutely killed the Nets in his last 40 points per game on 73% shooting, which I just literally have to double check and wipe the screen. A 170 offensive rating, not even absurd usage. It's 29%. He's been slightly higher than that in his last 5 since the Knicks have kind of adjusted their play style without Mitchell Robinson. 29 points per game, 7 assists per game for Brunson. I mean, he only had a 13% assist rate against the Lakers in a very muddled physical game. Only got 3 assists, but prior to that, I mean, cleared this assist prop pretty handily with a 29 assist percent rate in his last 4. If we see more Dante DiVincenzo out there, coinciding with more Isaiah Hartenstein, because thankfully for Knicks fans, Jericho Sims is injured, so we don't have to deal with that anymore. That's going to help the pace and space, I think, more for the Knicks. DiVincenzo is a great cutter, and I assume that helps Brunson get more assists. We're talking about a Nets defense that is vulnerable against the point guard, allows the highest assist to turnover ratio in the league. Doesn't give up a ton of bulk assists, but to the point guard position in their last 7, 9.3 assists along with 30.5 points per game. So, I mean, Brunson, if he can do this against physical interior defenses like the Lakers, where he continued his incredible scoring output and clutch scoring, I have full faith that he can continue to burn this Nets team that's just not particularly good on defense.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous about picking this game. These teams definitely tend to go a bit more over, and there's definitely a bit more points. Mitchell Robinson not in is also good for points, obviously, and I would agree. I have nothing else to really add. I wanted to look at some of the Julius Randle stuff as well, but or even like a potential fade of not even a fade, really taking like a Nick Claxton, somebody, because the Knicks, unsurprisingly, in their last 4 or 5 games in the last week, basically, they've gone from like the second or third best team at defending the center's position to like bottom 10 at this point, which is very unsurprising. But actually, the having Hartenstein in there with his recent 17 rebound performance actually makes me feel a little bit better about the Knicks for this one, and not taking Claxton, whose minutes I can't trust. So Brunson is the best bet for anybody that I would feel most comfortable with in this game. But let me close it out with the ageless one, Kyle Lowry, and take over 8.5 points for him. It's just too low. If he's going to play the 32, 33, 34 minutes that he's been playing over the course of the last like 10 games, really the last 5, he's averaged 33 a game. There's no Jimmy Butler tonight. It's just he's in the starting lineup. He's playing a lot of minutes. 9 points is way too low. His 3-point prop is at 1.5 with like minus 160 to the over, meaning you think he's going to score 2 threes, but you don't think he's going to get 3 more points than that in 30 minutes of playing time. I got to go with it. So look at the splits. I mean, without Jimmy, he's played 4 games this season. Also last season, another same example here, same type of stuff, but his minutes rise from 33 to 29 this season. He is up to 12.5 points per game with Jimmy out there, and has gone over in all 4 of those games. He is averaging 6 threes a game in those games without Jimmy, and over the last 10 as well, basically up to about 5 threes a game, even in the games that Jimmy is in. So the usage is up to 18% from 12%. I mean, that's like a dude who's just standing around hoping he gets a shot, to a dude that like is forcing his own 5 to 7 shots per game with that level of difference in the usage rate right there. The free throw attempts go up from 3 to 1, not like it's breaking the bank, but I just like to know that there's involvement and he's attacking the rim in the minutes that he has when he's playing a lot. Orlando allows the 5th most points per game to the point guard position. It's difficult to say, is Tyler Hero going to be bringing up the ball just as much as Kyle Lowry? Like, it's not really, it doesn't really matter on the Heat. Almost anybody can run the offense. Freaking Bam runs the offense more than both of those guys as well, I would argue, right? Like, they're definitely going through Bam at the foul line more so than just being like, Tyler Hero, go ahead and figure something out as the point guard, right? So I do think that works well for Lowry to play off of Bam as well. A little bit of the pick and roll, but also the spot up shooter aspect for Kyle Lowry, who's never met a straight on 3 that he didn't like from almost anywhere on the floor. That is exactly where Orlando is the most vulnerable, at the top of the defense, up at the top of the key, against a 3-point line, against point guards. Let's go Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and that kind of fits with the narrative of Miami just big brothering this team, thinking like, oh yeah, you're the upstart in Florida. You think you're the better Eastern Conference team at this point, the better team in this division. Like, no, we're just going to show our veteran presence and toughness and just beat you as underdogs, right, at Orlando. Yeah, I mean, I expect Kyle Lowry would be a part of that if it happens. I think there's some correlation plays to look at there. And once again, yeah, love Hawkes getting more minutes. If his prop comes out at like 12 points or something, jump on that.
Yeah, it might be up to 14.5 these days with Jaime. Someone called him the real Triple J, Jaime Hawkes Jr. I kind of like that for him, but either way, that is all the time we have for you in this one. I agree, though, with Nate. If those Jaime Hawkes props come out under 15 or so, I still like them, like the rebounds as well, for him to get in there and bang. So that is all the time we have, as I just said. Continue to follow along. Check out the play of props that we have up as well, in addition to these best bets that we're bringing you. And until we see you next, happy betting.